Now, this seems like a very far-reaching problem. I mean, I know there's multiple facilities across the country, and you said you personally are representing over 500 individuals. Are all these from this plant, or are they from various places? And is this an isolated problem for our area, or do you think it's more far-reaching and spread throughout the country at the other sites?
It's more far-reaching and spreads to the other sites, and talking to other authorized representatives who represent those people. But my clients are not just from the Portsmouth Gaseous Diffusion Plant. They're from the Mound Plant, Fernald Plant, Hanford Plant, Savannah, Rocky Flats, Nevada test sites, and various other places. So when I say I have this many clients, it's not mean these are all people who worked at the Portsmouth plant.
Right.
So I get a sample of the other plants at the same time. That's what got me really concerned. And then luckily got into these two security guards who had just gone through all this cover-up of the injury, which gives me some clues then where to look.
Yeah. Well, now this plant has been a major source of income for our residents for decades, and I can only imagine there's been tens of thousands of people work there. Should people be concerned if they have worked there at any given time and contact somebody?
Yes, of course, it's only triggered if you have an injury. In other words, you can wait 20 years and all of a sudden you get cancer because it takes a long time. The radiation apparently affects your chromosomes and genes, and that makes the body sometimes turn on itself, which creates cancers, which normally would not occur. But when the radiation goes through, radiation, it could be the very first zap that you get. But NIOSH has a program which is called 50% causation. They also have a program called a spatial exposure cohort. If you work there 250 days and you have one of the 22 specified cancers, you get paid whether you got it out there or not. I mean, just you work there 250 working days. But a lot of people work there 245 days and so forth. And say that person then has to be referred to NIOSH to do a dose reconstruction. The method that they use to do this is a secret. They will not allow you to look at it, see if they're accurate in what they were doing. And not only that, if you appeal it, the hearing officer tells you, I can't do anything about what NIOSH does, how they come up with that particular number. But once you hit a 50% probability, then you get the 150,000. The 150,000 gets you the medical card. It also gets you Part E status, and under Part E status, then you can file an impairment rating. It's a sort of long procedure. The fees, of course, are why you don't have many lawyers involved in it. The fees are limited, like 2% or 10%, and that usually discourages people when you see all the work that's involved, the research. If you're reading the files, if you look over here and some of my files just across the way, you can see how thick they are, and a lot of our clients have 3 or 4 of those packets of information. So it's like being a good detective. I've enjoyed it. I always like the challenge of doing things, and then when you're able to get some benefits for a family and they're hard up and this really helps them, you know, it really makes you feel good.
Well, I would guess that this limited compensation on the attorney side, I mean, basically drives out the people who are kind of just trying to make a large income, and really brings in the people who want to help.
Well, that's true. And so anyway, first person came in, I was involved one time, and I helped a veteran, and it was an appeal, and you had to go all the way to Cincinnati, had the hearing, and then coming back, so you got prepared, had the hearing, coming back to Portsmouth. Then I inquired about my attorney fee, and they said, we are limited to $10. And if you charge more than that, you'll go to the penitentiary. And I think they were trying to discourage lawyers from representing veterans. And so that was my experience. It made me a little cautious when the first person came in and told me about what they wanted me to do. But the next person was a relative. And when a relative does something, you have to do it. And then it appeared to me that volume was be the only way you could handle this and pay your secretaries and staff and electricity and all the things that go into
gas
a lot.
$4 a gallon.
And gas. Where do you get that cheap? You have to tell me where you're getting that cheap. Anyway, it's a source of pride. I've sort of an interest in public service, I, of course, have a master's degree in public administration, have a bachelor's degree in business administration, then I have a law degree. And my mother wanted me to come back to Portsmouth after I finished, so I started with the city as Director of Purchasing, Planning, and Urban Renewal, and part-time Executive Secretary of the Civil Service Commission. I found out the longer the title, the less the pay. So I was paid $6,100 per year, whether I needed it or not.
Wow, that's good.
So then I became acting city manager, then I became city manager of our community. Then I went with High University when they had their campus here for 2 years. Then I went into private practice, and I love my clients, and it's given me joy throughout my life. And at the present time, this is my year of celebrating the 50th anniversary of being in law. So,
wow.
So it's a great year.
Well, excellent. Well, I tell you what, we really appreciate you taking the time to go over this and explain this stuff to us. And I know the viewers are definitely interested, especially with the large amount of viewers that we have here that have been exposed to the facility out there.
Right. If your viewers perhaps show some interest or call you and would be interested in it, I'd be willing to give you a copy of the video, the 4-hour video. But no one would sit down and watch a 4-hour video, but perhaps it could be divided up into segments or something of this nature, so they could actually see the questioning. They could see, they won't have the documents, but they're referring and explaining the documents and all that these 2 security guards have gone through. So they've went through intimidation, threats to their family, because they were wanting to discourage them from investigating this particular matter and put as many roadblocks in their way, and always a threat, you're going to lose your job, and they even have their other employees threatening them, saying, hey, you're going to cause us to lose our jobs. And so they went through a lot of pressure, but they were good people. And the gentleman that was injured, Jeff Walburn, was a city councilman.
Wow.
So that was also my tie to him. One of the things I'm working also is they're denying prostate cancers. They just will not grant a prostate cancer. And then I can't look into how they do the calculations. So now I'm trying to work on seeing if I can get enough public interest, pressure, congressman or whatever it might take, to get that changed so that we have a fair chance of presenting it. When they've hit neutrons, they've modified the doses and so forth, it makes it very difficult to get up to this particular threshold. One case I have is another security guard, and when he first had this affliction, they did a test on him, and it tested, or not test, but probability 35%. And of course, they're going to teach him to do this, so there's a mistake made or he appealed, and then they redid it, and by this time it's 11%. And then that goes through the appeal cycle, and he gets another chance at it. It's ordered back for another dose reconstruction, and it went down to 5-point-something%. So if you object and complain, it seems like they're able to find that it's always lower. Something is wrong in the system, and I and hopefully others will join me to get this corrected. Also, as far as prostate cancers, my research, in my mind, and I'm not a doctor, is that the exposure to the radiation plus arsenic and cadmium, I think, is what the cause of the prostate cancers. Mm-hmm. But prostate cancer is, throughout our nation, right. And so I guess getting to their, quote, magic 50% probability when they make the rules is tough. Yeah. But if it's tough, I'm going to fight.
Well, excellent. Again, Frank, thanks for taking the time to share this with our viewers. I know they will love to hear more about it.
Yes, and it's so nice to have local news in our community.
Thank you.
I saw your broadcast the other day, and I was very impressed.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.